I was sitting in the kids' bedroom putting them to sleep, my husband in the living room working. The house was very quiet. We heard someone turn the knob on the back door and bump it hard twice, as if they were trying to shove the door open. My husband brought me the shotgun and went exploring outside with the pistol. Never did see anyone. The weird thing, I usually don't end up locking the doors until we go to bed. But for some reason, I had a nagging feeling that I should lock it early that night. If I hadn't, God knows what would have happened. It was obvious that we were home and at least someone was awake. So whatever they wanted was not just to take things. My husband spoke with his fellow officers, but nothing was ever found. He did find a footprint by the garage the next morning. It was way too big to be his. We waited and we waited for follow-up break-ins, but nothing ever happened. I am a stay-at-home mom, so I kept the pistol within reach for a while when the kids were at school and I was home alone. Nothing like that has ever happened again. However, a few months later, my 11-year-old son didn't move out of his room because he felt like he was being watched. He said he kept hearing footsteps outside the windows. Before we moved in, his room was a back porch that previous owners had boxed in. The old concrete porch steps are still outside his room, and it led to a big window the previous owners put in, but it didn't open. I'm sure it could have been a neighborhood stray cat, but this was just a few months after the door incident. One of my childhood homes had a balcony that was attached to both my mother's bedroom and mine via a big glass door. Next to the balcony are two trees. One I often used to climb up and down from the balcony. One night when my brother and mother weren't home and I was about 13, I was reading in bed with a very dim reading light. I heard what sounded like something moving in one of the trees outside, but this didn't worry me as we had possums and bats that are common in our area. Right now I had a thin curtain on the glass door that separated my room and the balcony, and the doors faced out toward the street where a street lamp was always visible through my curtains. Shortly after hearing the tree rustling noises, I see a shadow slowly move past the doors, at which point I immediately turned off my reading light and freeze like a deer in headlights. The shadow is tall, so it wasn't any neighborhood kid. The person moved slowly, creeping as though they would not want to be seen. They wouldn't likely be able to see into my room, but I could see them thanks to the street lights behind them. They moved past my doors out of sight. I sat there unable to move or even think about what to do other than be absolutely still. That is, until I heard another sound. The sound of someone trying to open the glass door to my mother's room. I didn't know if she had locked them or not, but I wasn't taking chances. I moved as quickly and as silently as I could to my bedroom door and I locked it. I listened for what the person was doing now. They were still jiggling the glass door handle, but it sounded like the doors were not opening. I felt relief. This person couldn't get in, surely. All I had to do was wait for them to realize that, and they would leave, right? Well, I heard light footsteps move back along the balcony to my set of doors, and I saw the shadow stop directly in front of them. Again, I froze. He couldn't see me. He couldn't know I could see him. I saw a shadow of a hand reach up to my door handles and my heart stopped. Had I actually locked the doors myself today? I was out there earlier. What if I forgot? The seconds leading up to him grabbing the handle felt like an eternity, but the door did not open. It was locked. I sighed such a sigh of relief I was worried he heard it. After this, he began pacing the length of the balcony. I didn't have a phone. The landline was at the other end of the house, but I was scared to take my eyes off of him. I was silently crying and praying that he would just leave. Then I heard him stop moving, and he said, "I could just break the glass, you know." Before I could even process this, I saw car headlights turn around the corner of my street and then stop at our property gate. My mom was home. The person on the balcony moved out of sight, and I heard a loud thump as they jumped off of it. When my mom came inside, I was hysterical and was barely coherent in telling her what happened. Eventually, I got the message across and she called the police. They never found or caught anyone, but a neighbor reported a truck in the street that matched the description of a truck that had been reported recently for attempting child abductions near my school a block away. I was living in Las Vegas at the time and I was 19. I lived in a trailer park in Northtown, a not so nice area of Vegas. The trailers were about 10 feet apart at best. At about 11 p.m. I heard a sound of a body flopping on the ground from the trailer next door. It sounded like someone wrestling or fighting, but no yelling or loud voices. I then heard the screen door of the trailer open and the car speed off. I thought nothing of it and I just kept to myself. My roommate was at work and he wouldn't be home until the morning. I went to bed. I woke up to a tapping on my front door and it was a police officer. I woke up in a hurry and answered the door. The police officer told me I had to vacate the premises for my own safety. Apparently the sounds that I heard were from my neighbor who stabbed and killed someone in the trailer. The car driving away was the murder victim's friend who drove to Nellis Air Force Base for help. My neighbor kept the body in the house until the SWAT team showed up and extracted the man from the house via tear gas. This was just the beginning of crazy things that happened while out at West, but by far one of the most memorable. I worked third shift at the time. My kids told me I had started snoring. I didn't believe them and decided to record myself sleeping while they were in school. I turned the recorder on and said, "This is to see if I snore. First you could hear me breathing, then go into deep sleep. After a while, snoring. Then clear as day, two voices talking to each other over me. I was home alone. They said, 'Can she?' I don't think she can." I had the tape for years. I always thought they were wondering if I could hear them. I was house sitting for my friend and her dogs were acting crazy. They were barking at everything and anything that they heard. Eventually I heard a weird noise upstairs. I counted the dogs and they were all with me. You know that person you yell at looking around the house instead of just calling the police? Guess what? Yeah, that's me. The knife drawer was baby-proofed and I'm an idiot, so I grabbed a meat fork. I messaged the group chat that if they didn't get any updates from me every 5 minutes, they should call the cops. I went looking around. I tried to bring a dog with me, but they were not having any of it. Eventually, I found the source of the noise and was relieved to see that it was just the sink and it was the water running. I turned it off and I texted the group chat, "Never mind, it was just the sink, the water was running." One of my friends replied, "But who turned the sink on?" And immediately the freaking lever pulls forward and water started coming out. I rubber banded closed and hightailed it out of there. I sat there with a meat fork in hand watching movies all night. No way I was sleeping in that house.